Tom, the Tory MPs behind the scenes in WhatsApp groups are going bananas about these high net migration figures after yesterday's tax-cutting budget is back to normal for this Tory government, which seems to run out of ideas. With me now is Danny Kruger. He's a member of the new Conservative group of Tory MPs to speak to GB News viewers. Danny Kruger, you're a Tory government. You were elected in 2019 on a pledge to bring down migration, but it's trebled since then. That's net migration on your watch. Why?
I'm afraid that's absolutely right. We took back control of our borders, but we've thrown them open. And I think the people who put us into power in 2019 are absolutely entitled to be furious about this. There are some good reasons in terms of the refugees that we've taken in over the last few years, but that doesn't account for these numbers. It's because we're taking large numbers of people on very low wages to fill vacancies in the workforce that should be filled by British workers. We're taking too many people with dependents, so 50,000 people have come over on work visas and brought a dependent with them. We're taking students who are coming here for university and then staying on for years afterwards and bringing their dependents. So there's so many things that we're doing wrong in my view, and the result of it is that we're depressing wages for British workers and decreasing our own productivity in our economy, as well as all the effects on social services, on housing and of course our integration and cohesion as well.
The politics is full of these small boats crossings. We've got a colleague of ours, Ray in Dover, talking about small boats crossings and how they can't be controlled. But the net migration figure is a controllable number. Yeah. Why can't you and your government control it?
Well, I think you're right to raise the illegal migration, because that is, of course, a scandal as well. There is progress being made on that. You've got to give the government credit for reducing those numbers by a third. It's still completely unacceptable, and I don't think we're doing enough on that either, but we're making some progress. But on legal migration, that is really what I think is at the core of so many of our social discontents. The pressure on housing, the pressure on public services, all the challenges we're having in our culture as well, real sense that our community cohesion is fraying. So yes, we can do something about this. And the New Conservatives, which is the group that I co-chair in Parliament, a group of backbench MPs, all elected since the Brexit referendum, we've put out a plan that would reduce migration back to below the level that we were elected on in 2019. And as you say, it was our manifesto pledge that we would bring numbers down. We've seen them treble in the last 4 years. It's totally unacceptable. If we're to look the voters in the eye at the election next year, we've got to deliver on that promise.
Come to your ideas shortly, but isn't it time for a straightforward apology from 10 Downing Street? Just say sorry for getting this policy wrong.
Well, I'm afraid to say there's been such a churn in ministers and indeed prime ministers since the pledge was made, but we were all elected on the same promise. So, I mean, on my part, I am so sorry that we have not been able to deliver yet on our promise. And as I say, there are some legitimate excuses around. We've taken a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of people from Hong Kong, that I think is a good thing to do. But yes, fundamentally, we need to reform our asylum and immigration system so that we're not relying on foreign workers to plug the gaps in our workforce.
So what would you do specifically that the Tory government isn't doing at the moment?
So the first and the main thing is to raise the salary threshold. People should only be getting a work visa if they are contributing to the economy. So they should
to what level, Danny?
Around £38,000 a year of a salary. At the moment, you can come in on much less than that. So you're essentially, you're not contributing to the economy in the way that you should if you're getting a work visa. I think we should stop people bringing their dependents over if they're coming over, particularly to study. I mean, I don't know why students need to bring their mothers or their girlfriends or whatever with them. They should just come to study, and then they should go home unless they've got a proper, good, well-paid job in this country. I think we need to reduce the number of work visas we give out, full stop. We really need to be investing in our own young people, not sending them to pointless university courses where all they do is rack up debt. We should be investing in skills and training for our young people. We should be getting people off welfare and into work. We should be supporting people in later middle age to stay in the workforce. There's so much that we can do to support our own people rather than just opening the floodgates, which all it does is depress wages and is essentially a subsidy to employers. We really need to be focused on the people of Britain rather than employers or indeed the Treasury, which loves these numbers because they show that there's more economic activity, but it's totally bogus because the growth in income per household, per worker, goes down with every immigrant that we bring in.
The government is taking measures to bring people off benefits into work, and that's part of that conversation you're describing. What will you be doing in the New Conservative? Will you be meeting with the PM, Mr Sunak or Mr James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, and taking your points to them?
Well, we have conversations with ministers regularly, and it is true to say that the government recognises that things have to change. The problem is we've said that repeatedly over recent years. I was concerned that we haven't yet heard, unless I've missed it in the last few minutes, that any response from the government to these figures. I want to hear that they really recognise the extent of the dismay that your viewers, our voters, must be feeling about this. Really, this is an absolutely make or break moment. We worry about small boats rightly, we worry about all sorts of things that are going wrong in our country that the government needs to fix on, and to its credit is focusing on. But this matters so much. I don't think there's anything that matters more to the country at the moment than fixing migration.
Well, Danny Kruger there from the New Conservatives there with a make or break message for the Prime Minister: sort out net migration or reap the consequences at the next election. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much indeed, Christopher Hope, our political editor there with Danny Kruger MP. You could hear the frustration in his voice.